Welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Susie Von Slaughter.
Fuego here.
And we are here to do our full review of Season 1 of Shudder's revival, headed up by Greg Nicotero of Creepshow. So this is one that Fuego and I reviewed the first 2 episodes of, and then we got super busy with Dylan's New Nightmare, amongst other things, and we weren't able to get back to review it on an episode-by-episode basis, so we're here to talk about all 6, and when we were like, all right, so Susie, we might not have anything for you until we do our commentary tonight. We're going to review Creepshow. She's like, I watched Creepshow. I was like, oh!
It's amazing! I was like, I actually watched that.
So I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to talk about it because, quite frankly, of the 6 episodes, there were 2 stories per episode, and then the creeper kind of wraparounds, or creeper. Is he the creeper? He's the Creepshow creeper, right? Maybe the creep, whatever he is.
So creep.
But he's a silent sort of wraparound guy. But it's about the stories, and outside of one, which Fuego and I talked about in our episode 2 review, I actually found redeeming qualities in every story that we had this season. And so we're gonna go through them quickly.
Outside from one. So Gray Matter was your least favorite?
No. Outside of the one episode in episode, or one story in episode 2, the werewolf one. The werewolf one is the only one I did not like in the whole season. I liked all of the rest. So I'm excited to get your guys' opinion too. But yeah, I gotta say, as cheesy as some people might think it is at times in the effects, this is a straight up love letter to me. It's a love letter to the comic books of yore, the horror comics of yore. It's a straight up shout out to, of course, the Creepshow. It's a nice development of new short stories. Gray Matter, the Silver Lake one, right? All of these new stories being shown to us. I just dug the hell out of it. I love anthologies anyway, and when there's this much care taken and this much love put into it, I am just all about it. I don't care that it's not 22 episodes. Give me a solid ass 6 episodes over a kind of good 22 any day of the week. So I loved it. And I'm dying to know, Susie, since we just found out you liked it apparently.
I fucking loved it. I loved every part of it, especially, like you were saying, a love letter to it. It was complete homage to the original. I loved that it had that, funny, kooky, gore to it. It was straight up like I was watching the original kind of Creepshow, but today with new stories. So I was all about it. I loved it. I was totally in it. I was completely engaged with every single episode.
And I do want to just interject real quick before you, Fuego, jump in. Susie is the only one, since Fuego didn't make it to Halloween Horror Nights this year, Susie was the only one that really appreciated the Creepshow maze. So her love for the movie is genuine. And in fact, we just put up the episode where we went through that maze. So we got to get all of our reactions. That's up on the channel now. Go to our first Halloween Horror Nights episode. It's just a few episodes ago if you want to see Susie's reaction to that maze. So good. But Fuego, what did you think of the season now rounded out?
The season as a whole, I do commend them for having a couple episodes that were a little bit more on the serious side, like the Scarecrow one, for instance. They really ran the gamut from more serious, which Gray Matter was made more serious than I was anticipating it, since I love the source material.
I have loved that much more on the second watch. I watched a couple episodes with CP and Emily for the second time. Gray Matter was solid.
That is one of my favorite and most
not better than Dollhouse of the Dead, though.
Well, it's
House of the Head, I should say.
I still need to rewatch that because that one I didn't like very much.
Loved it on the second watch too.
I love them all.
I think House of the Head might be my favorite. So okay, so you liked it.
I saw people doing rankings of all of the.
I think we should do that. Honestly,
maybe. I don't know if we could do it right here.
Not right here. No. We'll do a separate video.
Yeah, but I did enjoy the fact that we also got a little bit of all the flavor from werewolves to. I liked the zombie episode, where the people who tried to take over the town and all the craziness and the gore of just putting them through the suffering.
I liked the monkey's paw. I liked
the monkey's paw.
I thought the monkey's paw was a little bit weaker than I was hoping it would be. Yeah, Simpsons did it better. But I did like how everything was a little bit. There was something new.
There was a nuance. Yeah.
I loved the genie one. The genie one was amazing. The
guy in the suitcase.
So yeah, we'll get to all of it. But first, before we dive into it, since Fuego and I talked about the first 2 episodes, which was the first 4 stories, Susie, I want to get your opinion. So Gray Matter, the one where the kid's dad was changing and he was having to bring the beer to him, and it was Juan Carlos Esposito and
and the kid he wasn't
and Saw the Tobin Bell that was Jigsaw was in that as well as one of the guys.
The kid.
He looked like the guy from It, but he's not the guy from It.
Shut up!
No, I thought he was not. Too. Fuego called me out in the review. No, it's not Bill. No, it just looked a lot like Bill. No, it's not Bill. It's not Bill. I had the same thing. No, it's okay.
I was really
it's all right. I'm with
him.
you, Susie. I'm with you.
I thought he was Bill.
No, it wasn't Bill. But what did you think of that story?
Okay, no.
Because remember how creature-ish it gets at the literally the world's gonna end in 6 days.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Ending.
That's what I loved about
going
into it with Creepshow. Like obviously in the 80s, it's silly kind of horror, and so going into it and I saw that they recaptured all of that and it was still the same, and I loved it, and it didn't take me out of it, and I was so engaged in it, and I loved it. I loved every part of it, and the creature at the end, it was so great. It was so Creepshow, perfect Creepshow. That was
it was a little more than Creepshow because the practical was Creepshow, but when it got CG, I felt that was a little bit stretching beyond the Creepshow realm. But I was still okay with it because they were going for it.
Right, because now, there's obviously more advancements, but I think that they utilized it well.
Agreed.
I don't think they went over the top with it. I think they really held true to the Creepshow nostalgic of it, so.
Agreed.
And that's where I contend that the fact that, Stephen King was behind the original. He wrote all the stories originally. And you have to at least start the first episode of the first resurgence of Creepshow with the Stephen King adaptation of a story. And this is one that, since it first appeared in Night Shift, and then even before that, King wrote this story when he was in his early 20s.
We talked about this in our review, though, so I'm just getting Susie's recap of the first 4 stories. So
yes, I agree.
Now, the next story was House of the Head. What did you think of that?
Okay, having children, I thought that was really creepy because you're like, oh, what's going on? She's having a dollhouse. Like she's a child. She doesn't know what's going on.
She's trying to figure out the mystery. Like the haunting is of the little girl. That's part of what I like about it.
Exactly, but she doesn't know. Yeah, exactly. Like she doesn't say anything to her parents. She doesn't say anything.
But she's smart enough. She gets a cop figure, and then she gets a shaman Indian figure.
But then the parents, she doesn't say anything to them. It's all.
You're right. The Indian, right?
Yeah, she gets the skinwalker and everything to try and bless it and everything else. So I loved it.
So between Gray Matter and House of the Head, which did you like more?
House of the Head.
Me too. All
okay.
Right.
Between the two, I'm gonna have to do House of the Head, just because it's a bit more.
So
it's
episode
a story
2.
I never thought I'd see on screen.
Episode 2 was the werewolves and the Nazis.
That you didn't like very much.
Did you like? That was one that neither Fuego nor I liked very much because
it was
a story that was done before better in Dog Soldiers, quite frankly.
Yeah, I wasn't too interested in that one.
But the finger was the one with DJ Qualls from the Euro trip. He finds the little creature finger and it grows into the little creature.
Oh yeah! Oh, I love that.
And then his little buddy and
stuff. And then he puts it in the freezer and it sleeps in the freezer and everything.
Did you notice in the freezer there was this? Fuego, we didn't even mention this in our review.
But somebody tweeted
this was in the freezer, frosted over.
Oh, and it's so great when he's
like, because they know how much I love
the detectives
stuff,
come to the door and he's like explaining. He's like, oh my god, my ex-wife, and his this goes on for another 2.5 hours. Yeah, no.
Breaking the fourth wall. Did you
yes,
like
I loved it. I thought it was really awesome.
And that one was also directed by Greg Nicotero, which is really cool. So Greg did Gray Matter, and thus far he also did Finger, which was cool.
All right, we're I'm gonna have to blow through the rest, even though we were just getting
okay.
Yeah.
So we got the companion and Lydia Lane's better half in episode 4.
Wait, no,
we skipped episode 3. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, All Hallows Eve is one that I actually honestly want to talk about.
Oh, I liked that one.
This one,
where the one kid was actually
about the kids up in the treehouse, and they're going around terrorizing these different people, and not even so much full on trying to harm them, but just scare them, and
not even scare them. The people are aware of
their
them.
memory in mind,
and they're like, oh, we didn't want to see these kids, but we have to, kind of thing. And
because they all seem like kind of schmucky kids, but then when you start to realize what happened with them and the other even worse people, worse other kids in school who were picking on them, and it just deals with like burning down a treehouse basically without spoiling too much.
It's very similar feeling to one of the stories in Trick or Treat.
That, or it could have been a Goosebumps episode.
Or even the Tales from Halloween episode, the Trick or Treater story in there.
I kind of already had a feeling what was going on, that something happened to these kids, but it didn't take me out of it because I wanted to know what was going on. And again, it's Creepshow, so
it is.
That's all about it.
So the next one was The Man in the Suitcase,
this was
which was the
standout,
gin
that
one.
Was
I
so
loved it.
good.
This was so creative.
Yes.
So creative in its thrills and horror and deterioration of the situation. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're set up with a scenario, and you're like, oh, okay, so one guy knows about, there's a dude crammed in a suitcase that if you cause him pain, he spits up gold coins worth $500 a piece. And, like, one guy knows about it, suddenly 2 other people know about it as well, roommate and best friend. Yeah, of course. But, you know, then it becomes about, you know, how much can we make? And then one guy starts feeling guilty. And, you know, what becomes of the trio by the end. I really dug this story. I think this was my favorite of the 2 of this episode.
Yep.
But I really liked Man in the Suitcase.
Yep. Man in the Suitcase.
Fuego?
I was a fan of it as well, despite the fact that it was so oddly stonerific, comedic, like, kind of craziness at times. I mean,
but that's Creepshow.
Stonerific, sure. I mean, it just felt like it was like Half Baked meets no, not Half Baked. How High meets Wishmaster was the best way that I could describe this.
Wishmaster's right.
Yeah, and it was very predictable because I knew that friend was a schmuck. You could tell he was a schmuck from like the very first time he was on. Yeah, but it was very fulfilling, and just the way they must have like filmed the kind of craziness. I don't know if he was like somebody similar to what we saw in It, for instance, where it was someone who can like contort their body in some strange degree, like the person who came out of the fridge. Yeah, dude, the person who came out of the fridge was in fact, and like that was practical in It, in the original It movie. So I was wondering if that was
not all of it was CG enhanced, but
Indeed. But I like the subgenre of evil genies, jinn as they are called.
I do too.
And this was significantly superior. Well, I don't know. I liked them both, but I did like Man in the Suitcase better.
So episode 4 was The Companion and Lydia Lane's Better Half. The Companion is the one that a lot of people were talking about that week, which was the Scarecrow adventure. There was a kid that was mistreated by his brother, and he runs afoul of a scarecrow that he kind of mistreats himself. And then, you know, what happens when he realizes the power that he might possess. I thought this was a good one. I thought both of these were just okay, but they were both still worth watching and like cool differences from the rest of the episodes. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I really loved about this Creepshow season 1 as an overall point is how creature centric it was. I love creatures are my favorite thing in the horror genre. So that being such a heavy focus really, you know, it really got me, man.
Well, and also there was not.
This was neither of those things. I mean,
so
Scarecrow. I'll give it to Lydia Lane just because the chick from Battlestar Galactica was in it, and she's gorgeous.
Oh, Kate Mulgrew?
No.
I was going to say Lydia Lane.
Not Kate Mulgrew. It was...
Lydia Lane.
No, it was... who Mark Bernardin works with. All right, I'll look it up.
Anyway, between Lydia Lane's Better Half, I think she did an amazing job with the acting.
Yes.
So I'm going to go
stuck in an elevator with someone you accidentally killed.
Right, exactly.
And also, but also your lover too. I mean,
true.
Yeah,
so,
it was a heavy subject.
There was the whole jilted aspect.
So I think within the time that we had, you know, to watch it, I think she did an amazing job. So Lydia Lane is my favorite between the two.
Trisha Helfer. That's her name.
There we go.
Yeah, within the first couple minutes when the girl's being passed over, and it's in the first couple minutes, so I got the vibe they had a little lovey thing going down. But the
got
companion,
that gaydar going down pat, don't you, buddy?
Well, it's where I work, man. You know, I love them. They're awesome peeps. Lydia Lane kills her lover. No, I mean amazing people. Yeah.
Right here.
I don't know. I didn't like the Scarecrow one very much, which was Joe R. Lansdale.
I thought it was okay.
Joe R. Lansdale, who wrote this one, it's a story by him. He did Bubba Hotep, and he's done various other things. So I was maybe expecting a little bit more of a distinctive.
So would you go with Lydia
twist.
Lane also?
I definitely would. I thought that the trapped in the elevator aspect, and it's really gory.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated too. So.
Fucking elevator.
Episode 5 was Night of the Paw, which was the Monkey's Paw storyline, as well as Time is Tough in Muskie Holler. Times is tough in Muskie Holler. So the first one is a murderer breaks into a funeral home shelter and finds a monkey's paw of the man who knows how to use it. And it's very subversive in the way that it's told. This woman breaks into a house and you don't know all the details, but it turns out that she is someone accused of murder. And
no, she doesn't break in.
No,
she rings the door.
No, she gets brought in.
Yeah, she gets
brought in.
Right? Yeah,
sorry.
He's like, oh, you're not what I expected.
I was just reading the thing and assuming so.
Anyway,
it's been, but the man that plays is someone that we know very well, Bruce Davidson, I believe.
I believe so. He was in the first
X-Men.
couple X-Men movies.
Yep.
Yeah,
he was the senator. Yeah, Bruce Davidson, I believe is his name. And he tells the story of this little monkey's paw. And I actually kind of like that it was a little monkey's paw, as opposed to like in The Simpsons, it was like the same size as their hand and stuff like that.
Various other instances. I mean, hell, even Pet Sematary.
Is it usually much bigger?
Took on respect for the monkey's paw and stuff. It is usually bigger, and
I liked that it was smaller than this. I kind of liked it.
It's an actual little monkey.
So this one, while I did like certain aspects of it, I thought that I was like, if you're going to tell a monkey's paw tale, I think this is a weaker one. Yeah. That was my opinion. It wasn't bad, but it was just, I was like, oh, there's a much better monkey's paw
I felt it was very,
there.
but I felt it was very Creepshow.
Okay.
I loved it. I loved it.
Fuego?
It was one of my least favorites. I mean, this one and the companion were probably two of the tropiest that I mean,
I would still put Bad Wolf Down as the bottom.
Those three are probably the bottom rung of everything here. But just to jump over to Times is Tough in Muskie Holler, I didn't like it at first because they don't keep it very clear as to what's going on. There's all these people being held captive.
Oh, this one was weird.
Yeah, they keep everybody held captive, and you're just like,
maybe a little too weird.
Yeah, and there's just like the whole town struggle. You feel like it's a town in disarray. There's some sort of horrible kind of, borderline apocalyptic thing going on.
It felt Walking Dead governor-ish.
Yes, big time, especially with when you realize what the end game is. So there's some bad people who try to take control of this town, and then some other not as bad people take them and they try to give them a taste of their own medicine, and it has to do with like a baseball field or something.
You know what? This might be the worst episode because the finger was more redeeming in episode 2. Bad Wolf Down is the worst one, but these two are both worse than the finger in episode 2.
Okay, the worst episode, if we're going to rank one episode that was
one episode that was the least satisfying. Yeah. Because the finger redeems Bad Wolf Down way more than either of these redeem each other.
Well, I don't know. I like Times, man.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. It took
I think episode 5 is the worst, but Bad Wolf Down is the worst story.
Okay. It took forever to get to gore in this, though. That was the problem. And once it finally got there, we had some great practical on these zombies, because this does take place in a zombie apocalypse. And so, yes, we are nearing the end of completion, so we have to jump to episode 6, which is where we finally
Fuego, you start off with this one, because the first story...
get a Joe Hill story.
Oh, actually, wait, they did Lake Champlain as the second story in this one, too, didn't they?
It's the second one, even if they listed it.
And it's so funny, I saw Tom Savini, I was like...
This was actually, I think, maybe the strongest episode. Maybe. I did really like. I thought both Skin Crawlers, which was a really sort of commentary on today's not only technology and infomercials and everything, focus on weight loss.
Super subversive. This might be my favorite episode as far as like unexpected awesomeness of the entire thing, because Paul Dini, who did a lot of work on Batman,
he created Harley Quinn. Period.
Harley Quinn, yeah.
Created Harley Quinn.
It's maybe the goofiest as far as the topic that they're tackling, but it's really gross too. Once we get to the practical, it reminded me of everything from body melt to like some of the newer things where there's like, all the hot diet trend and the price that you will pay if you decide to partake. So vanity.
I loved it. It's a big creature one.
Yeah.
So I really. Really like that. It's a little bit Creature. It's a little bit Slither. It's a little bit...
Slither was where I got the most vibes.
Yeah, Slither, as well as, those older movies. God, what's the one with Matthew Broderick? Where he goes to the camp to get better. Kind of like A Cure for Wellness, but it was... You know what I'm talking about.
I do. We did a reaction for it.
We did.
I'm trying to remember if we properly watched it.
I don't think we did, but nonetheless, it was an interesting setup. But By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain was really, really, really cool. Did I not tell you
the subject matter would be right up your alley?
Did. And Joe Hill even says, I think in the book or something, I don't remember where. Maybe he said it when we went to talk or watch him speak.
He actually reiterated a lot that he wrote down in the Who's Your Daddy bit when he was live.
Well, where he's talking about how he was obsessed with the Loch Ness Monster, and so he kind of created his own version of it, Champy. Yeah. And I loved how this one played out.
I always think of Big Blue.
Probably is my ultimately favorite. I don't know. This and House of the Head were my two favorite things. So a story in episode 1 and a story in episode 6 were my two favorites. But I loved how this played out. Two kids in a tumultuous home life. We spent much more time in the home life than I thought we would.
Yeah,
and then we went to see Champy, and I loved it. So I really enjoyed this one. Two kids go and discover that there's supposedly a lake monster in their local lake called Champy, and no one's ever seen it, but it's like the Loch Ness Monster, and their father was obsessed with it, and he disappeared in his search for it. So the mother, hates the father for having disappeared and his association with this stupid creature, but the kids are obsessed with finding out about it. They go and they run across a dead little plesiosaur, a dead little Champy.
And they think it's a rock initially, and then they go and they look a little bit more closely, and they're just like, "Oh my goodness, that's actually that's what the father was looking for."
And it's so good how it plays out, and it actually it circles together with the family drama, and I really like this one. Susie?
I like Skin Crawlers.
You like Skin Crawlers
between the two, yeah.
Okay. Well, what did you think of the Champy one, though?
No, I thought it was good, but I like Skin Crawlers more.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Fuego?
There was enough changes made in By the Silver Lake that I can't say I liked it more than Skin Crawlers. Skin Crawlers might be as subversive and just very dark, comedic, like horror as it was.
It's Black Mirror if they delved into creature stuff.
Yeah. It was probably my favorite of the entire series was Skin Crawlers.
Fair enough.
Loved Skin
Fair enough. So, ultimately, Susie, do you think season 1 of Creepshow was a success?
Yes.
Fuego?
Yes.
This? Bullshit.
70. Wow.
73.
Yes, it was a fucking
That's
amazing.
a success then. It's a success.
It's definitely a success.
Damn.
I would give it a 75. I think I'd give it a C grade, maybe B- if I'm pushing it.
People called me
There were really
Jeez.
only 3 stories that I had a problem with. I found something very enjoyable in all of the rest, and something somewhat enjoyable in 2 of those 3. The Bad Wolf Down is the one I found very, if none at all, redeeming qualities. But I think that this is fantastic, and we were just informed that it has been approved for season 2 and renewed. So it is. It was also apparently almost broke Shudder because they released like, hey, we don't normally talk about this, but everyone loves Creepshow. Like everyone's watching it, and so yeah, they let out reports after like week 3 that it was like the most watched series they'd ever put up.
Yep. All right.
Fuego, any final thoughts?
It was just the look of the creep and some of the comic book stuff that I didn't like
That's
as
the bummer.
much. And that was really the only...
It wears on.
It was one of the few times where the budget was shown, but with the success that we're seeing here, up that ante for season 2, I mean, make it look 100 times more badass.
Sorry, I just saw the time.
Yeah.
And that's about what I'll say. We have other work to do, everyone.
Don't want to rush. We're literally about to jump into our commentary of Southbound, you guys, but thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the first season of Creepshow in the comments down below. If we missed anything, we'll respond to your comments and give our thoughts there. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe to make sure you don't miss more like this. Also, the link to our Patreon is down below, as well as the link to our Indiegogo campaign for Dylan's New Nightmare, even if it's just in sort of a in-demand phase, or if it's still going live, we'd appreciate your contribution. And if not a contribution, just share it out. Even if you can't take part, we appreciate you letting people know about it. So, thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Cecil Von Slaughter.
Gracias, Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.